So I'm going to take you guys back earlier than 9/11, okay? And imagine for a minute that this is 1980 Afghanistan, okay? The reason I'm mentioning this is this ultimately, what happens in Afghanistan leads to 9/11. There's a man named Osama bin Laden, who at that point is in his 20s. Nobody's really heard of him, but he decides to take up the cause with the Mujahideen fighters in Afghanistan, because you may remember this, but in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. And the anti-Soviet forces, this group of Mujahideen fighters, were trying to fend off the mighty Soviet army. So Osama bin Laden leaves Saudi Arabia, hears about this event, goes there to fight with the Mujahideen, and he uses the resources. He's from a very wealthy family in Saudi Arabia, so he's able to fund them. Now, ironically, one of the things that the Mujahideen used to ultimately defeat the Soviet Union, because in 10 years they pulled out of out of Afghanistan, went back to the Soviet Union, was Stinger supplied missiles bought and provided to the Mujahideen by the CIA in the United States. So it's really odd to see the twists and turns of this story and how some odd events all led up to where we were on 2001. Ultimately, Osama bin Laden becomes known for his work there in Afghanistan, and his credited him and his Mujahideen fighters for pushing the Soviets out of Afghanistan. And after that, he continues to franchise his terrorist fighters in different parts of the world and continues to use his resources to do that. Ultimately, now we're fast forwarding, right? We're now at 1990. Now, you remember in 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait, right, to take over their oil wells. And when that happens, again, Osama bin Laden, being very entrepreneurial, says, "Hey, I can do this." He said, "I'll pull together all of my Mujahideen fighters all over the Middle East and other places. I'll send them all to Iraq and Kuwait, and we'll be able to fight off the Iraqi forces that are trying to invade Saudi Arabia." Because at that point, the Saudi Arabians knew that they were next. They were going to be invaded by Iraq. Weirdly enough, he goes back to Saudi Arabia. Again, this is Osama bin Laden, and he pitches his concept to the king, and the king is not impressed, right? So he says, "No, I'm going to bring in the Americans." This pivotal point in the history of Osama bin Laden colors his attitudes towards the kingdom and towards the U.S. from that point on, because he's been rejected by the king. And as you know, in Saudi Arabia, almost anybody that's of royal blood is related. So he's somehow going to be related to the king of Saudi Arabia, right? Because again, he was born into a very wealthy family. So he's been rejected by the king. They won't use his Mujahideen fighters. They're bringing in the infidels from America to help fight the Saudis to keep Iraq from invading Saudi Arabia. So now his target becomes the United States. I want you to know that there were a lot of things that we don't think of that led up to the point where Osama bin Laden had put a target on the U.S. And there was a lot of other bombings and things that went on in the Middle East that the Al-Qaeda network was responsible for, and that ultimately his money and his training camps that were all over, Afghanistan and parts of Pakistan, that contributed to the lead up to 9/11. But now you know that there were some pivotal events in Osama bin Laden's life that made him choose the path he was on and ultimately put a target on the United States. So, all right, now it's September 11th, 2001. So go back in your mind 20 years where you were at, right? So I was assigned to the Pentagon, right? By then I was a lieutenant colonel, about to make colonel. At that point, everybody has to get a tour in the Pentagon if you're an officer, right? And most of my job involved reporting to a 2-star Air Force general that was responsible for all Air Force intelligence. So he was my boss. And luckily, my office was very close to his. That becomes more important in just a minute. But on 9/11, I get to the Pentagon between 6 and 6:30. Everybody gets to the Pentagon really early because a lot happens in the world overnight, and you have to get yourself up to speed so you can brief your boss when they come in the morning about what's been going on, because there's just a whole bunch of meetings that happen at the Pentagon very early in the morning. So I'm there early, gathering information, and not really expecting the day to go poorly, because if you all remember that day 20 years ago, at least on the East Coast, it was a beautiful, sunshiny day, a little bit of a nip in the air. It almost felt like fall, just clear blue sky, nothing at all, no bad weather. It was just a gorgeous, gorgeous day. It was a Tuesday morning, right? So I'm going about my daily work, and I get a phone call from this general's secretary. Again, he's right around the corner from me. And she says, get to the general's office right away. I'm going, uh-oh, am I in trouble? My first reaction is I've done something wrong, or he needs something, and I've got to rush down to the office and see what the heck he wants, right? Because nobody wants to hear, oh, the general's got to see you right away. That's never good news, right? And I get there, and the secretary is not in her office. She's in the general's office, and she says, come in here quick. So I get there. She's staring at this TV set because the first plane has impacted the first tower, right? And she's watching this thing, and she says, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. Her name was Frances Wood. I'll never forget it. I said, Frances, normally planes don't get lost in New York City, nor would they hit a giant skyscraper, because that would be a pretty big thing for them to see as they're flying around New York City. I said, this is either the craziest accident I've ever seen, or it's intentional. Well, we continue to watch this because we just can't believe what's happening. And then within a few moments, of course, then the second plane impacts the other tower. And I looked at Frances and I said, where is the general right now? She said, we went down the hall to a meeting. I said, please go find him. I said, we're under attack. She said, what, do you really think so? I said, yeah, I know so. I said, 2 in a row is not an accident. Now we're facing a terrorist attack. So when she runs off, I kind of watched the TV for a minute, and then I realized, oh, I should call my husband. I just wonder if he knows what's going on. And of course, he's been doing his daily routine. He has no idea anything's going on. So when I call him, I said, flip on the TV. And my husband had been a pilot, a private pilot, not an Air Force pilot, but pilot nonetheless. And when he sees the footage on the phone, he says to me, he says, Donna, that can't be an accident. I said, I know, that's why I called you. I said, I knew you being a pilot. There's no way that, pilots lose their way in New York City and hit these big skyscrapers. He said, yeah, this is some kind of an attack, isn't it? I said, yes, what I think. And we're talking on the phone and just kind of trying to process all this crazy stuff. And about that time, then the Pentagon gets hit. Now this, other plane, this third plane that's left in the D.C. area is now hit the Pentagon. And when it happened, I told Steve, my husband, I said, I think we've been bombed. I gotta go. Goodbye. I didn't say I love you. I hope everything works out. I mean, it's just like, you have to just get into gear. Military mindset took over. It's like, okay, get in gear. So I said, I gotta go. So I'm in a big vault. I was an intelligence officer, that we worked in this big windowless vault. And there were other people in the vault. I said, since I was a ranking person, I said, everybody get out. I'll check around and I'll make sure everything's in good order before we leave. So they all left. And then I locked the vault. I don't know why I bothered. That was a silly thing to do. But the important thing I did, though, before I left the room was I grabbed my car keys. Now, I will tell you, one of the things I learned about working at the Pentagon or any place I was in the military is never leave your car keys on your desk, because you don't know if you're going back there, right? Always have your wallet with you. I had both a purse and just a wallet that I could slip into my pants. I was glad I had it that day. So always have, your keys and your wallet with you. Don't ever leave them in your desk drawer and think, oh, I'm going to come back here later in the day. That may not happen to you. You may not be able to get back to your desk or your home or wherever you're going, right? And the other thing is I had some change in my pocket. Now, the change will come into play later, and I'll explain why. So when I lock this vault and I step into the hallway, there's this huge just sea of people coming at me from the right. And it's so thick with people, I don't see how I can actually get into the wall of people, right? I'm just trying to figure out how to insert myself. And behind them, I see smoke billowing behind them. And I smell now some jet fuel. And I said, okay, now I know what's happened. We've been hit with a plane. I thought it was a bomb of some kind. There were bomb alerts at the Pentagon just all the time. So we always expected any moment we'd have some kind of bomb that would actually go off. Anywho, so I finally am able to get my way into this crowd and start just moving with them like a big herd towards an exit. We do get to the exit, and when I get outside, I can look back and see how bad the damage is. Because again, when you're in the building, I should mention this. So when the attack happened, to me, it felt like an earthquake. The concussion of that airplane hitting that big building you could feel it. It almost had a sound to it too. I know it sounds strange, but you could felt it and hear that the building was shuddering, like a dun 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 dun, dun kind of a feeling. And it pushed me across the room in my chair. So there was a strong concussive effect from the impact of that big plane on that building. Weirdly enough, the part of the building that was struck, which was ground zero for that plane, was the headquarters for the Army personnel for the entire Army. So they took the brunt of the attack, plus the Navy Operations Center. And then the Defense Intelligence Agency had a large budget office there because they would put together all the intelligence budgets and put them in front of the DOD. Most of the people that I lost that I knew well were from DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, and from that Army personnel office. It's another weird irony. Two ladies in my Bible study group were from that office, and we used to use some of their offices for our Bible studies every Wednesday. So the 4-star general, the highest ranking individual that died that day in the Pentagon, it was his office we used to use. So just weird ironies here. But of course, I didn't know all this for a long time, because when that building hit and the fire ensued, it was hard to identify people. So it was quite a while before we knew exactly who was gone and who was just, maybe working somewhere else or staying at home for a while, or maybe just injured and sitting in the hospital. That was another kind of awkward thing, was not knowing really what had happened. So obviously I'm out of the building by now, and I'm looking back. And after we've been outside for a few minutes, now at the Pentagon or any military installation, you have this plan for what to do for evacuation of a building, right? You know where to go. You have team leaders. You're supposed to report back up the chain. Is everybody reported and in good shape? Yeah, everything's good to go. So we followed our checklist, right? We went to our designated areas to check in. We had a team leader that was taking sort of like a roll call to make sure we were all there and all accounted for. And as we're kind of standing there wondering what next to do, we all realized, okay, maybe we should go back towards the building and see if they'll let us help with some of the rescue efforts. But by then, they don't want just standard folk in there. They only want to use EMTs or firefighters or law enforcement going back inside the building to either search for survivors or, worst case, maybe pull out people that didn't quite make it. So we're told to just stay in the parking lot. So now we're just standing out in the big parking lot. That went on for hours. They kept us out there because, weirdly enough, we thought we were going back in the building. No, it sounds silly when you see the footage, but we thought, hey, it's not a bad fire, maybe they can put it out. We'll just go back to work, and it's another day at the office, albeit it's kind of strange. But when it got to be in the afternoon, they finally pushed us back towards Pentagon City. If you know the DC area at all, Pentagon City is right across the Pentagon. It's like a shopping area, restaurant area. And we got pushed over to there. Now we're thinking, okay, what are they going to do with this now? And they said, well, if you have an office to go to, a backup office in the DC area, go there. Otherwise, you might want to consider just going home, because we can't let you back in the Pentagon to get today. So I didn't have a backup office because I was in the intelligence world. So we didn't have backup place to work for what we did. So I started trying to figure out how I was going to get home. I'm still with this little group of people that I've been with that are from the Air Force intelligence staff, right? We're all still in this little group that we've been together with all day. One of the guys, now at this point, they've declared the whole parking lot of the Pentagon to be a crime scene. They don't want us going to our vehicles and driving off with them, because there could be some debris on our vehicles or something that helps the forensics of what's happened. So we can't take our vehicles out of the Pentagon parking lot. Now, I took a bus in, so the buses weren't running at that point. Everything in DC became gridlock. They released all the federal workers almost right away, and the state workers. And DC became just, even as bad as the traffic was, even worse. Cell phones didn't work. The system got overloaded. So here we are, we're standing around, we can't get to our cars, and we have no cell phones to call anybody, and there's no form of public transportation running to get us home. So we're just kind of stuck there. One of the guys that was our team leader, his car was at the outer fringes, almost, as you're exiting the Pentagon parking lot. So he walks up to a local, DC cop is standing there kind of guarding everything. And he says, hey, my car's way over there. Do you mind if I take it out and get these people out of here? And the guy kind of looks around and he goes, yeah, go ahead, get the heck out of here. So a bunch of us pile into his vehicle and he starts driving us home. Right now, if you've ever worked in the DC area, people live all over the place who work in the DC area. They may live in Maryland. Some of them live out in West Virginia and they take trains in. I lived, getting closer down towards Richmond. I was in Fredericksburg, so I was quite away from the Pentagon. So I told him, I said, why don't you try and get everybody else home and then drop me off at some metro station like Springfield. Springfield is a major metro hub, and I'll see if I can figure out what to do from there. And so he did. We drove around for hours. Now remember, it's gridlock, so he's trying to take every back road he can think of to get just around DC and drop people off. So we're literally just driving for hours, just trying to get to places and get away from all the major roads. So I'm the last stop. So he drops me off at Springfield Metro, and he said, I feel bad leaving you. I said, don't worry, it's a safe place. I'll figure out what to do. Now, again, my cell phone's not working, but I walk into the Springfield Metro station, and what do I spy? A pay phone. I said, oh, I can make a call on the pay phone. And I had that pocket change, right? I had some quarters, dimes, and nickels in my pocket. So I put a bunch of money into the pay phone, and I get my husband on the phone. And I said, I'm alive. He said, yeah, I guess so. So I can hear your voice, And I said, when we hang up, I want you to do two things. I said, call your mother, let her know I'm alive. And I said, call my parents, let them know I'm alive. And I'm sure they've been watching that footage of the Pentagon. They think that, Donna got blown up. So he said, okay, I'll do that. He said, where are you? I said, I'm at Springfield Metro. He said, well, I'll come get you. I said, well, you can do that. It's going to take you a while because the traffic's like way crazy. So he said, okay. So I don't know, an hour or two later, he finally gets to me at the Springfield Metro, and I could finally get home after that. So eventually I get home to Springfield, and we've got not a pay phone, but we have a home phone, right? So I could make a call on the home phone and actually talk to my own parents and my mother-in-law and reassure them that I'm okay. Because my one worry was that they would all be watching that footage, and they think Donna is dead, right? And I didn't want them to think that for another moment. So I wanted them to be reassured that I was fine. The last thing I heard before I left the Pentagon was that we'd be getting some instructions from a phone call probably between 11 p.m. and midnight, right? So I stay up late, and sure enough, the phone rings right around midnight, and the very official voice comes on and says, is this Lieutenant Colonel Fore? I said, yes. He said, you've been directed to go back to the Pentagon for work and put on your battle dress uniform. We are at war. I said, yes. Yes, we are. This is the first salvo, right? So I get up early the next morning, and I go ahead and just drive myself in this time. I'm not going to take a bus and run the risk of getting stranded against the Pentagon, so I drive. Now, here's the part that gets pretty cool. I'll get a little emotional here. As I'm driving into D.C. on every overpass, driving into the D.C. area, some brave Americans have draped huge American flags over every overpass. And I said, wow, this is great. God bless America. We're gonna fight back. We're gonna do what we can because we're Americans, and that's what we do. Somebody knocks us down, and guess what? We get right back up again and come at you. And that's what those flags told me, is we are fighting back, and we're gonna get business done. And from that moment on, I worked long days. I didn't get a day off so I went back to work on September the 12th. Now, imagine this. I'm walking into the building. The roof is entirely on fire. It's pretty chaotic when you get in there. I said, okay, I'm walking into a burning building, no big deal. And as I walk into the normal entrance I go into, of course, there's a lot of extra security. You have to really show a lot of ID, and they check your bags. And all that kind of jazz. Prior to that, it had not been that strict. So it sounds kind of crazy, but I get in there, the building looks like it's been fighting for its life. It's black, it's sooty inside, it's dark, power's not on. All the building, only select portions of the building, like command operation centers and alert centers, have power. There's water everywhere. It smells bad. There's heavy jet fuel smell, just debris from the building, from the firefighting. It's like something out of a Hollywood movie. Is all I can describe it like. I was a little worried about where I was stepping and what I was stepping on, but I had to get to my office, right? I was supposed to go to work that day. So I figured out a way to get there and try and avoid the worst parts of what I could see down certain hallways. Sometimes you'd walk in that hallway and it was so dark you didn't know what you were walking into. I eventually can make it to my office. Now, unfortunately, that part of the building that I eventually could get to, that was my office, had been spared. It wasn't attacked by the plane. The plane had stopped when we got to the courtyard. So I'm okay. And power has been restored there. So luckily, now here's where it gets strange. So when I get to my desk, there's this pile of dust on my desk. And with all that firefighting and all that fire and all the debris, the air circulation system has been running and pushing all that debris through all the systems in the Pentagon. So every day for months and months and months, I would have a pile of just this weird dust and debris on my desk every morning to clean off from all that gunk that had been generated just from that one incident. It just continued on for a long time before it all got fully out of there. It sounds bizarre, but that was my daily task, was to get rid of the dust from the attack. That first day, we were all kind of in shock. We didn't know what to do. I was given the assignment to find every Arabic linguist I could find in the Air Force and get them on orders to get prepared for what it would be eventually become the attacks that we all became to know in Afghanistan. So they were gearing up for stuff. Now, you'd think that'd be an easy task, but even on a good day, the military writ large, whether it's Marines or Navy or Army or Air Force or Coast Guard, doesn't have a lot of linguists, right? They're hard to find, hard to train, hard to retain, because they keep getting deployed overseas. So you aren't able to keep them very long because they get tired of being deployed. So we started dipping down into the reserve forces, the National Guard, even individual mobilization augmentees. So an IMA is someone who's not assigned to a reserve unit or a guard unit. They are an individual reservist, so to speak, where they can be plucked out, put anywhere you want them. They don't have to deploy the whole unit. You just take that one individual and take them where you need to. With the linguists, it made sense to do that because we only needed them, the one person. We didn't need their whole unit, we just needed that, right? So we basically just started making tons of phone calls. We had to get these people quickly with security clearances. Some of them had been out of active service for years. Some of them had to have medicals. So we were just basically doing all this gear up to get them ready to go overseas because we knew it was coming, we just didn't know when. So we were finding the linguists, getting them retrained, getting their medicals done, getting their security clearances back on track, getting them some uniforms. Some of them, when they left active duty, we were wearing a whole different uniform back then, right? So we had to, anyway, just a lot of different stuff going on. So I worked every day until Thanksgiving Day. They let me take the morning off. So I cooked some meals for my family. And by then, my nephew had joined the Marines. William, you'll be happy to hear that. Had joined the Marines because of 9/11, right? So he was a graduate of the University of Tennessee, go Volunteers. And so he was at his training at Quantico, going through his officer candidate school. So he and a bunch of his hungry buddies came to my house in the morning. I fed them all, and I went right back to work. So, and that went on for a long, long time, maybe over a year. We were at work every day. And Donald Rumsfeld was the Secretary of Defense at that time. Now, he was a hard taskmaster, brilliant man, but really a hard taskmaster. So he had staff meetings on Saturdays. So my boss was part of that group. You know, he's a general officer, so I had to be in there on Saturdays getting him ready for this big meeting with Donald Rumsfeld and all the other senior staff. So every day was difficult. Every day, sometimes you felt like you didn't know what you'd gotten done because you just were so tired by the end of it. You were just trying to look back and figure out what got done today. What was something I can point to and describe as a success. It was just grueling. Luckily, we eventually hunted down Osama bin Laden, as you know. It took a few years, but we did, find him, and brave Rangers went in there and took care of business. I guess what I come away with from 9/11 is a greater appreciation for life. I did lose 9 people in the building that I cared about. The 2 Army ladies I was telling you about that were in my Bible study group. By the way, the impact point where the plane went in eventually became a new chapel at the Pentagon. It sounds bizarre. I know it's a government office building, but we had a chapel inside the Pentagon. The reason for that was there were so many people that worked odd hours at the Pentagon, to include all these operation centers and command centers, alert centers. They didn't have a chance to go to services. So the Pentagon provided a place for them to go and have a service, or at least go and, do what they wanted to do from a religious standpoint. And we had Bible study groups that keyed off that chapel religious group. So the 2 of my ladies didn't make it out. Really devastating. They were young and had young children. And then there were 7 people with the Defense Intelligence Agency's budget staff that were really close colleagues, because as an officer at the Pentagon, a lot of what you do is either oriented towards making budgets to get money for the troops in the field, or everything you do is for the troops in the field, right? Because you're now at the level of government where you're expected to help the people downrange, So that's what we did day in and day out. That was our job: help the troops downrange, get them their bombs, their bullets, their food, whatever they needed, right? And also make policy. So I was both in the policy and in the budget arena on this Air Force intelligence staff. So I spent a lot of time working with the Defense Intelligence Agency to build intelligence budgets to help the forces, right? And a lot of my time, fortunately, had been spent getting money for the intelligence reserve forces. So I knew a lot of the reserve forces because of that. And that kind of helped me out down the pike in terms of when 9/11 rolled around. I knew where to find these reservists because I've been talking to the headquartered reserve forces within the Air Force for a long time. So here's what I learned from 9/11, right? Life is fragile. Hug your family as often as you can. And even if your family's not perfect and you haven't talked in a while, you should talk to them anyway, because you never know what day you won't be able to have that conversation, right? And we all have things in our family that we wish we could change, but we're still family, right? And I also learned that family is not just the family you're born with. It's the family that you work with. And for the military people here, you get that, right? Because people in the military feel like they're part of a family, right? Because you spend such long hours together in training, long hours in operational missions, long hours in overseas, terrible places that nobody else wants to go, where everybody hates you. I tell people, they say, "Where did you go in the military?" I said, "Well, mostly the places that are the stuff of nightmares. You don't want to go there. People hate you. They look at you like they want to kill you. You're in some places it's so dangerous you don't even wear a uniform. Right? Most of the places I went to in Central and South America were like that when we fought the drug war. Very dangerous. So that's what the soldier and the sailor and the airman and the Marine and the Coast Guardsmen do, right? They go into dangerous places. The rest of us don't want to go, do their job so that we can be safe. So the other thing I learned is that sometimes it takes a tragedy of the magnitude of 9/11 to bring our country together. I've never felt better as an American, as a united America than I did in the weeks and months following 9/11. Because you remember, everybody had flags up. Everybody was USA, USA, USA. Sometimes I'd be on a metro, if you know the metro system, there in D.C. And a few of us would start saying, USA, USA. And people would join us, right? Now, if you did that today, they'd think you're crazy, right? But back then, we all felt united, like we came in and picked a fight with my brother. And I said, hey, I'm going to go help my brother. You can't take a fight with brother. I'm going to go after you. Right? So that was the kind of feeling we had, that we were all together, all Americans, trying to do whatever we can to take care of business. And that made me feel good to know that we could all come together. The other thing I learned is that, despite what people say about America, we're still the greatest country on earth. We have our problems, right? We have political problems. We have issues over policy. We have issues with each other. We have crime. We have a lot of other things going on, right? But if you, and the military people get this, if you've gone to a foreign country where there's just complete chaos and lawlessness all the time, and people are just in dire straits, right? You come back to America and you go, wow, it's not so bad here, right? Because there's way worse places that I could be right now. So you can run America down as much as you want to, but we're still the greatest country this world has ever known, the greatest democracy this world has ever known. And if it was such a bad place, why would thousands of people be crossing the Rio Grande River right now to get into the United States? It's still the greatest place on earth. So I'm proud to be an American. I bleed red, white, and blue. I may have hung up my uniform, but I still feel sometimes like I'm in the military, and I have that can-do attitude. And I run my own business now with Mutual Vermont, but I also still serve my community. I'm on a lot of boards. I'm in the Rotary Club, Lions Club, a lot of different community organizations where we give back and we try and help people that are less fortunate. So I would also encourage you, if you've never done something like that, the greatest way to ensure that you feel connected to your community is to give back to it, right? Find a group that needs your help. Say you're passionate about the Cancer Society. Join the American Cancer Society in your town and give back that way. And there's just, thousands of other organizations where you can spend your time and your talent and your money to help them. So I encourage you to do that, because there's a lot of people that need a lot of help right now. It's a difficult time in our country. But I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes. I want to see if you guys have any questions. What can I answer for you? Go ahead.
Hey, Donna. First of all, I want to thank you for your personal and heartfelt story and experience sharing with us. I do have two questions for you. One is, you were mentioning that the dust collecting at your desk. At that time, of course, that was way before COVID. Were you wearing masks or anything to protect yourself?
No, we were just cleaning up everything every morning. And I didn't know, and I hate to be crude here, I didn't know if those dust particles contained, human remains in them, or just some kind of burned up piece of the building. It could have been asbestos for all I knew, because there was asbestos in the Pentagon. So I don't know what I got exposed to there, just from that debris and just from inhaling the air at the Pentagon, because obviously for a long time the air quality in there was not good because of the attack. But no, we did not wear masks, and the only people I saw wearing masks were the first responders that were, fighting the fire and things like that.
Yeah, because I've read many stories about firefighters, the first responder, like you said, that has some lingering issue, associated with the smoke and all that stuff. Yeah. My second question is, how do you attend the mental health aspect of it? I mean, as you live the event every year, I mean, how do you kind of, is there any particular thing that you do to kind of keep you mentally strong whenever you talk or you even go through this day?
Well, for me, like for weeks leading up to 9/11, it starts messing with my head, because it never leaves you, a trauma like that. So I have to just stay super, super, super busy. I just have to stay so busy, I don't have time for that thing inside my head to drive me crazy, right? So that's how I deal with it. I just go 90 miles an hour. And if I'm going 90 miles an hour, I don't have time to stop and think about 9/11. Now, today was a little bit hard for me because I woke up and all the footage on TV on Fox showed the whole, replay of the event over again. And I saw that burning Pentagon, and I said, gosh, I was there. Wow, what a sad day. Still is a sad day. I think that's the one regret I have. Well, other than the fact that I don't know why my friends didn't make it out and I did, but you can't answer that question. But I'm afraid people are forgetting. I'm afraid people don't care anymore. That's just become a date on the calendar. Oh, hey, did you know it was September 11th? Today, I had to write a check, and I struggled to write September 11th, 2023. All these years later, it still haunts me like a bad marriage, right? It's just in my psyche. So how I fight it is I just stay super, super busy. That's the only thing I can tell you. Busy, busy, busy.
Well, I want to thank you for your presentation, Donna.
Oh, I just had a comment,
Dave-
Elton.
Davis. Yeah, go ahead, Ramona.
Donna, I guess in those moments, you were purely functioning on adrenaline. Fight or flight, pure adrenaline. That must have been very exhausting when you, a few days later, just physically draining. And the mental exhaustion and the emotional exhaustion came much later, I bet. And you're still processing till today. You must have been dealing with a lot of PTSD as well. So I commend you for being able to pick up the strings in your life and carry on with your insurance business.
Thank you. Well, I would say I think that 9/11 actually helped me in my decision to start my insurance business, because it dawned on me when 9/11 happened. My husband had been not very involved in how my career worked or who he would call if, God forbid, Donna didn't make it home from work one day. And so I had to have that conversation with him. I said, here's a number for a colonel that I work with. If I don't make it home someday, you call Colonel Conway, and he's going to get to the bottom of where I'm at, and he's going to walk you through the process of what to do about, all of Donna's stuff, and everybody needs to do that, right? You need to have that difficult discussion with your family, your spouse, your children, whoever it is that is around you, and say, hey, if I don't make it home, here's who you call. Here's where all my papers are. Here's how you get a hold of the insurance agent. This is how you get a hold of the lawyer for my will. I mean, we don't want to have these discussions, people, but we have to have them. Because the reality is, if I hadn't have walked out of the Pentagon that day, if I'd have been closer to the Army Personnel Office, if I'd have had a meeting there that day, I wouldn't have made it home. My husband had no idea who to call to get things started to take care of my remaining business. So please do that, folks. That's another big reminder from 9/11. Get your business in order. Get your insurance policies in order. Get your wills in order. Let me tell you this much. A basic will is only a few $100s, right? Don't let that stop you from getting one. It's not that bad. You can even download the documents from LegalZoom and fill them out yourself. That's not very expensive, even on LegalZoom. So, or you can use Legal Shield, Legal Shield is a company that'll help you with all kinds of legal matters for a pretty low monthly fee. So, we have some people in our group that work with Legal Shield. So anyway, get your house in order, talk to your loved ones, have those difficult discussions, and let them know if something really bad happens to me, even if I'm just in a hospital and I can't speak for myself, here's what you need to know, right? Because God forbid that should happen, but it might. And all the guys on the call here in the military, Vernon and William and Sergeant Gray, every time we went on a deployment, what would we have to do, right? We'd have to get all these power of attorneys signed, right? Because we didn't know if we were coming back from that crazy place we were at, even if it was Europe or, God forbid, the Middle East or Africa, right? You had to have everything done. You had to show it to the commander. Okay, here's my power of attorney. If I don't make it back, my husband can take care of all my affairs and all that jazz. So learn from the military. We've been through this, mess before, so we know what to do when things get terrible. Does that answer your question, Ramona? But Ramona, I've never been diagnosed with PTSD, but I'm sure I have a taste of it just from 9/11.
Yes,
just because I do. Yeah, I get pretty depressed on 9/11. Like I said, I couldn't even write the date today. That's pretty weird, but that's part of
Well,
the PTSD, I guess.
Thank you so much, Donna. I want to take this opportunity to commend all the men and women who gave their sacrifice and service to our community and our country. We appreciate you. God, we thank you. And because we live in a free country, and this is a free country, and there have been many men and women who have given their sacrifice and service so that we can benefit from the jewels of liberty. And they are jewels, men and women who have passed on, who, because they gave their sacrifice, we benefit in liberty. I thank you. I really, really thank you. I really appreciate who you are and your commending. And it's because of that we can take this moment. And I was talking with a client today, and I decided that we're not gonna spend time focusing on business because we have liberty. Liberty gives us the benefit to continue to thrive and to strive and to continue on what we endeavor to do. And you don't know, it's an amazing time. An amazing time. And we're going to take this moment and just, hey, fellowship with each other. Fellowship with each other in terms of what we have the benefit of enjoying. And also just take a moment to fellowship with each other. Wow. Wow. I mean, you just don't know how great, how awesome you are. You just don't know how treasured you are. You don't know, you're lucky. We benefit from the greatest gift on the planet is liberty. There are countries that don't have liberty. There's not such a thing as liberty, and there's not such a thing as being able to have your own bank account, to go where you want to go, to buy what you want to buy, to save the money that you want to save. It's not in some countries you can't put money in the bank. Without the government taking it from you. So I treasure you, and I want to encourage you. At this time, what can I do that gives me the benefit of what I would like to do? I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you. What am I not doing that I really should do? How can I how can I improve on my life's benefits? Am I not using my gifts properly? It's like having a Rolls Royce in your garage. You don't know how awesome you have the benefit of being.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And so that means how can I use my days better? How can I use my days better? What can I do to get a greater benefit from my day? And how can I appreciate the people who are with me, who on side or aside, right beside me? That I need to let them know that I appreciate who you are. I appreciate what you've been able to achieve, and I want to make sure that I take my time to encourage you.
Yeah.
To encourage you.
What I got, Donna, every time you share your story, it's a different experience because it's just different. But what I got was, my goodness, thank God she's alive, because look at our group and how much Donna has put into this group and supported us, all through the pandemic. We were together. And so I really applaud you, Donna, because, sometimes when you go through such a difficult experience, you probably don't even want to get out of the bed in the morning, but you do that, and tirelessly and fiercely you fight each day. And so I know particularly this group is extremely grateful that you're here with us, and that you never leave us, because we are very, very grateful for the presentations that you make, for the inspiring words. And I think everyone in the group has benefited because of you. So we are very honored and grateful to have you. Now, Sergeant Gray is a very busy man. So do you want to say something? And Vernon, I'm so pleased to see you. And Jean, and I think we've got a Marine on. I don't know if he's still on. William,
I'm still here.
okay. So
I
we
just
need to
can't
talk.
get my video to work.
So can we hear you? Do you want to say something?
Yes, I'm very fortunate to be here. I came reluctantly, but I'm glad I came on board. I kept hearing the word liberty. I began to understand and realize that freedom is not free. Some of us have died, some of us have been locked up, and some have been beaten down, and some are still stranded out in the world that we don't know what we're up against. I'm very fortunate to be here.
And we're going to see you in person on Thursday. And William has written a book, and I'll bring the book with us on Thursday so everybody can benefit. I was actually reading it, William, this morning, which is what prompted me to give you a call. I was deeply moved by your book. I was really, really moved. And he's got a picture of Jesus on the cross when you open it, and that picture just brought a tear to my eye, William, because I grew up, with crosses like this all over. My grandfather loved crosses, and so he had them all over our house. And we prayed at 6 o'clock in the evening. All of us got together and prayed. So that brought back memories to me. So I'll be bringing the book on Thursday for everyone to see, for those of you who can attend. And I'm hoping that he'll give us a talk soon, and I'll schedule one with him as well. So William, welcome on board, and we hope to see more of you.
Okay.
Yeah, so Jean and Vernon, do you want to say something?
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Vernon.
Are you talking to me or somebody else?
You.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it took me a minute to get on here. I was trying to figure it out. I've missed a couple of Zoom meetings before, so I'm thankful to be on this one and hear, especially Donna, her talk. And it's brought back some memories to me too. But I didn't go through what she went through, but I've had some memories myself that sometimes I go back, and when I'm sitting by myself or something, I start thinking about them, and it kind of brings me down a little bit. But then I start realizing of not what was then, but what I have now, and then plus with my family too, that helps me out a lot. So but I'm thankful to be here, and I'm willing to participate and learn more and get more involved and go from there. The meeting that you guys are having Thursday, this is the one that's going to be at the seafood place?
Yeah, it's at the Japanese restaurant, Wafu.
Is that on the top of the hill by the
No. That one's going to be next month. But this month, everybody decided that we're going to try a new restaurant each month. So we can learn about different businesses across Goldsboro. So Wafu is next to Staples.
Off of Waymore?
No.
No, do you know Staples?
It's right beside Staples.
Staples is by Big Lots?
Waffle.
Yes,
It's
yes.
on the other side.
On the other side of Big Lots. Absolutely.
Okay.
In the same area. Yes.
I believe so, because isn't there a Roselli's around the corner there too, or something?
Yes. So
okay.
Depending on, we've booked 2 tables. We filled one up. We've got 1.5 filled. Donna, we weren't able to get the 40 as we were hoping, but
let's see.
we're not giving up. But we do have 2 tables, and Donna and Elton will be the only 2 people that will talk. But the rest of the group will go to BritFix, and at BritFix we're gonna do the networking. BritFix is gonna make arrangements for us to have a table and chairs and everything. So we will do our networking at Britfix. But the Mexican restaurant in October has a huge room. So we have plenty of room in the Mexican restaurant. So we'll be good next month. But this one, we don't have a private room, but only Donna and Elton will get to speak, especially. So
Okay.
what can I say?
We have
Yeah.
one now.
Yeah, we got Reginald. But
Reginald?
before that, Sergeant Gray and Jean have to say something.
Yes, I'll jump in here. How's everybody doing? Donna, really thank you for your testimony because when I reflect back on 9/11, literally I was at Fayetteville State University getting an ID card. And when the first plane hit the tower, I still remember the register saying, hey, go get us a VHS tape because they wanted to record it. They had the wherewithal to understand this was significant. It was a significant event. Now, this is the thing that it changed. When I drove from Fayetteville State back up to Fort Bragg, which is now Fort Liberty, maybe about a 15-minute drive, traffic was packed. Our base was locked down. I lived on base just off of Bragg Boulevard. I had to literally park my car on Bragg Boulevard on the median and then walk through the gate to go to my house. I couldn't even make it. The following day, in my my area of operation, I work with civilians. We have linguists because my area of operation was the Middle East. The following day, all of my civilian employees, they couldn't even make it to work. They were stuck in traffic for 13 hours just trying to get into Fort Bragg. So what 9/11 did really to the country is we began to not be as complacent because you got to understand all Army bases was open bases. Anybody can get on an Army base. Since 9/11, every Army base has been a closed base. So I think it heightened our awareness like, hey, look, we need to really stop being complacent and really be on a heightened alert. And that's what it's done for the last 22 years. So a month after 9/11, I was deployed. So literally 30 days after 9/11, I was deployed, and there since I've lost soldiers, seen conflict. So it's always a particular day. And just like Vernon said, there's times when I'll be in here with my wife and I'll just be thinking about, hey, you know, these soldiers I lost all over the Middle East, Pakistan, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq. And I'm like, man, why am I still here? I'm supposed to be the old guy, but these are young soldiers who have already passed away and given their life for the country. So I just try to enforce with the people that I influence, don't take life for granted and take pride in your country because you never know when we might be at war again. And hopefully it all works out and we're not speaking a different language. So I say, hey, be prideful with what you have and be patriotic. There's nothing wrong with being patriotic.
No,
So I
no
thank you.
reason, no reason at all about that.
Yeah.
Grateful. It's a word.
Yeah.
Grateful about what you have, the gifts you have, and how beneficial you should be. Because I mean, we have so much to be thankful for.
That's right.
There's so much to be thankful for, and each one of your free meals, when you say grace over your meals, you make sure that you're grateful for the food that you're receiving. You know, because I mean, we live in a free country that gives you the benefit of enjoying what you have.
That's right.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I pray that we're not moving towards something new.
Yes.
What we have is an amazing thing, And so your presence here with us is an amazing thing.
That's right.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And so each these moments that we're able to share and that we're able to improve on, and that we can be grateful for.
That's right.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. It
And
really
you
is.
know, and Donna's right, you know, September 11th is 22 years today. But even when I do this broadcast, you know, people have really started to forget about September 11th. And so I think it's really important. Like Donna and I decided we don't do business on September 11th. We don't talk about our businesses. We spend time talking about America and each other.
Mhm.
And that's why we dedicate this broadcast just for that. So it's important, and people have taken it a little, you know, not so seriously. And we are very close to, I shouldn't say it, but everybody knows it. It's obvious. We are not living in really strange times. So we have to be, as Sergeant Griff says, on the alert, because these are very unusual times. And as Elton said, we have to pray a lot, and it's true. So Jean, I didn't get, and Reginald joined in, so we didn't get to hear anything from you, but Jean has overcome a lot herself. I don't know if she's comfortable with sharing it, but I applaud Jean for coming back to us. And I've been praying, Jean, for you for a couple of months now. So Jean has gone
Good to be back.
her own journey, and she's a fighter too. So welcome back. Welcome back.
And
Yeah.
each and that Claire is bringing this up, but I just want to make sure that we recognize each one of you represent an aspect of courage, and each one of you have gone through your own series of challenges, and you're here, and you can say thanks. And we don't know what you fought,
Yes.
what you've had to overcome,
Yes.
and how you've gotten your degree, and how you've gotten your business going, and what you've had to be challenged by
Yes.
to be here.
Yes.
And so we are asking that the challenges that you've had to face, they're commendable.
Yep.
They're commendable, and
Yeah.
that you continue to fight your fight.
Yeah.
You continue to stand up for what you've stood up for. You know, and we don't know what you've had to
I
face
haven't checked.
to be
Yeah,
here.
that's
You
true.
don't know what you've had to face to be here.
Yeah.
So, but you're here.
Yeah.
But you're here. And so, we're gonna open the floor up to
Yeah.
anybody that would
Jean,
like to say
Jean has to
something.
say something. Jean, go ahead. Jean,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. You know, when you said you don't do any business on September 11th, since the first anniversary, I make sure I go to work. I make sure I go out and do something on my own without a man. I wear pants. I do things I know that the Taliban would kill me for doing. As a big hello, you know?
Good for you.
So
Good for you.
Good for you.
I am so very thankful for the first responders and for all the military who give me the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
I get it, because it's scary to think that, you know, my mother lost her husband and she still can live in a house and she still gets food to eat and she still can go out by herself,
Yep.
because this is the United States,
Yep.
not Afghanistan.
That's right. That's
And
right.
they wanted us to live like that. No,
And
I don't
get
think so.
scared and be afraid. Yep.
That's right.
Now, I don't know if
I'm
y'all
not
know.
scared. I'm not afraid. I'm
Yep.
angry.
Yeah, you're angry. That's right. And rightfully so, because I don't know if many of you know, but India is a pretty peaceful country. But there's a region in India, and I have a feeling that that's why Biden has been in India this past week. But they have been, you know, raping women, burning churches. The Hindus are against the Muslims. There's been fear all through Asia. There's been fear. And it's important that we get together and stay strong during this time, because one of the things that the Western world has not been broadcasting news around the world, because it is serious, man, out there. And it is so serious that it's important that we stay and fight the good fight, because it is really important. So I just said that to you, Jean, because you're right. The Taliban would like us to be afraid and not be women and not be liberated, and we have to fight for our freedom. So that's absolutely right. So I applaud you for being so strong and courageous, and also with your own fight. So anyone, Reginald, can we see you? I saw him flash in and flash out. So, okay. All right. So I want to thank all of you. Oh, there he is. Reginald, do you want to say something quick?
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm coming to you from the road, but I wanted to make sure that I got on, and I definitely understand 9/11 very well. When 9/11 happened, I was stationed in Virginia, so I definitely was in uniform when all this took place, and my hearts and prayers are always with everybody that's associated with this, because this event changed the lives of the entire world. And even though it was such a tragic and traumatic event, I also saw where it brought out the best in people. It brought the togetherness out in people. It brought the unity out in people. And that is so very important. And that embodies the spirit of what that American spirit is. And I've been proud to support this part of this way of life for such a long time. And it's good to remember this as a part of our history, but more importantly, just to make sure that history does not repeat itself. That's and that we get better as a society and as a people. But that's all I wanted to share. Thank you for remembering 9/11. Never forget. We have to make this world a better place, and I think that it has. And with people like you, remembering this and honoring the veterans who gave their lives and also are living to tell the story, we can make America better than what it already is. Thank you so much. That's my time.
Okay, always good to hear you.
All right.
All right, so Elton will close us out with prayer, and if people want to stay on, you can, but we want to keep this to the time. All right, go ahead.
Let us, I want you to take your 3 breaths. The 3 breaths. This is called blessing in a breath. Breathe in. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. Breathe in.
Don't take if your allergic to serious reactions can occur. So take this Memorial Therapy to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections, cancer, including lymphoma, muscle problems, changes in certain levels.
Breathe in. Thank you, Jesus. 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 Let's pray. Thank you, dear Lord, for your grace and everlasting mercy, your God and formidable light. We thank you for your incredible capacity. Dear Lord, we thank you for being able to be who we are. We thank you, dear Lord, for how you've gotten us where we are. We thank you, dear Lord, that you are so amazing, that you give us the courage to fight the good fight. We can stand up when others won't, but we stand up when there's somebody that needs to stand up. We thank you, dear Lord, for how we've conquered. We still have the victory. And we pray, dear Lord, that you would give us continued victory in our endeavors. Thank us that we can stand up and be the men and women that you would have us to be. And bless every household under the sound of my voice. And bless us, dear Lord, that we can have the capacity to keep peddling, And we thank you for the victory in the blessed name of our risen King Jesus. Hallelujah, 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 praise the Lord.
And we have some, I think it's Ramona. Ramona, you have to turn your audio off. Okay, all right. All right, so thank you all. This was a special night, and thank you, Donna, for sharing your story with us. We love you dearly. And so Donna said after September 11th, we can talk about it, but it's her birthday. So we will wait for this day to be over and then we'll get into celebration mode next week. So for those of you who can see us at WAFU, we look forward to it. And for those of you who cannot, we'll be meeting on Monday, the 18th. Jean, please make a note, and we'll do our business networking on Monday. So today we just take the day off for September 11th, and then 18th we'll get back to business.
All right.
All right.
Go get them.
So go get them. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate your support. God bless you, and I love y'all.
We love you too. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Donna.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
God bless everyone.
Okay.
God bless everybody. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Bye. Donna.
Vernon, great to see you.
Yeah. Thank
Great to
you.
see you as well.
William, I look forward to meeting you.
Good night.
Thursday, we'll see him.